All right, postgame pod time. White Sox get walked off in Cleveland 1-0 on Tuesday afternoon. This is Believe in White Sox. I'm Greg Miraz, and I'm going to tell you to do the standard things to like, subscribe on all the platforms, YouTube and the podcast platforms. I'm really angry right now. I am an unhappy observer of the Chicago White Sox. I'll call myself a fan, but it's hard to call yourself a fan of a team that continues to do the same things over and over and over again. Look, I know that expectations for this year were not high. I know that there wasn't much expected of this team in terms of on-field success. But the White Sox should not be 2-8. They are 10 games through the season now. They are 2-8. This is the second 1-0 loss that they have suffered this year. First one was at home, second game of the year, the Los Angeles Angels, and today in Cleveland in a game that they should have won and once again wasted a phenomenal outing from Shane Smith. Shane Smith, unlike his major league debut in which he was probably not pulled at the right time, either pulled a little bit too late with Will Venable not warming somebody up or pulled too early and not have trusted him to face one more batter. This time, Venable left him in a tough situation in the sixth inning and got out of the jam. We'll go back through the game, the early parts of the game, but Shane Smith was once again phenomenal. 6 shutout innings, 2 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts for him. And Tyler Gilbert, who gets activated off of the injured list and assigned back to the White Sox, he has a very nice season debut, inning and 2/3, 1 walk, no hits, and 3 strikeouts. And then we have to talk about Mike Clevinger. I do not know what the purpose of Mike Clevinger being on the roster at this point is, especially after today. Mike Clevinger being on this roster serves no purpose at this point. And here's why. It goes back to Little League. It goes back to high school. The cardinal sin of any pitcher at any level, you cannot walk guys and you cannot walk runs in. If you are a pitcher at the major league level, you should not issue walks to 3 consecutive batters. I don't care if you are struggling that much with your command. Get the ball over the plate. If you have to pitch to contact, pitch to contact. If you have stuff that might start in the center of the plate and break to one side or another, great. It's better than walking guys in. And Mike Clevinger today showed that he has no ability to right the ship in a high leverage situation. Now, the White Sox, it should not have come down to this because the White Sox blew plenty of opportunities to score. But this is how the 9th inning unfolded. Clevinger came in the 8th inning. He got Jose Ramirez to fly out to left field. Will Venable wanted to play the matchups and have Ramirez hit left-handed instead of right-handed, which was a smart move because Tyler Gilbert being a left-hander, you don't want Jose Ramirez hitting right-handed. Bottom of the 9th. Carlos Santana leads off with an infield single. Then Logan Manzardo walked. He walked in an 8-pitch at bat. 3-ball count, 3-0. Gets the green light 3-0, swinging strike 1. Then a foul off, 2 more foul offs, and then Clevinger tries a sweeper that goes for ball 4. Then Yoensky Noel comes up. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I want to make sure that I get that right. Yoensky Noel, whatever it's pronounced, I don't care. Actually, I do care, but in the heat of the moment, I don't care. You bring Noel up, and guess what? He goes 3-0 again. Gets a called strike to 3-1, 2 foul offs, and then a fastball out of the zone for ball 4. And now the bases are loaded with nobody out. And then Nolan Jones steps in. He gets a first pitch green light, swings and misses. Then Clevinger goes changeup, fastball, changeup, miss low, and then miss way outside. Four-seamer inner half, fouled off, and then goes four-seamer low and walks in the winning run. What is the point of Mike Clevinger being on this roster? If a guy that is a veteran that has as much experience as he does, not only does he walk three guys in a row, he goes 3-0 to two straight hitters. How do you go 3-0 to two straight hitters in a situation where the runner on first is the winning run? And after you went 3-0 to the first guy, you can't nibble. You cannot put yourself in a position to where you can load the bases. Trust your defense to make a play. Pitch to contact if you need to. If this guy is supposed to be your closer, hell of a job he's doing. Hell of a job. The other day he had an appearance where he recorded one out. He had 11 balls to 4 strikes and 15 total pitches. Not to mention that he wasn't even brought in a save situation. He was brought in a situation to where he needed to keep the line where it was at. And it just stockpiled. And the fact of the matter that you issue 3 walks in an inning, the Guardians win the game on a bases loaded walk with nobody out. That means you came out for the 9th inning and you completely farted all over yourself. And you'll probably go in the clubhouse and be like, if you are going to have this guy on your roster, his margin for error is so much slimmer than everybody else's. You look at this White Sox bullpen and you think, is there a guy that would fit on the Dodgers, the Giants, the Cubs, any team that is going to be competing for a playoff spot? Is Jordan Leisure part of a playoff bullpen? Is Frazier Ellard part of a playoff bullpen? Is Cam Boozer part of a playoff bullpen? The answer is no. Could Mike Clevinger, given his track record, be part of a playoff bullpen? In theory, yes. So the one guy that you have, and granted, he's in a new role compared to what he has been over the course of his career, but the one guy that you would assume could be as much of a sure thing as you have comes in the game and completely craps all over himself, shows that he shouldn't be on this team. I would rather see Jordan Leisure do that. I'd rather see Penn Murphy do that. I'd rather see somebody who I can actually root for and has a chance for a future with this team make those kind of mistakes than somebody who's on the roster because this front office is for some reason obsessed with having him on the roster. Mike Clevinger needs to be gone now. I know you're 10 games into the season, but that kind of performance cannot happen. You cannot, under any circumstances. I have no issue. If he had given up a leadoff home run to Carlos Santana and that's how you lose the game, fine. You didn't have a single ball leave the infield. Infield single, walk. That is an unacceptable way to lose a game. I would rather lose a game on a ball that flew 490 feet than lose a game on 3 consecutive walks. You are non-competitive in your at-bats if you are starting off 3-0 in consecutive hitters. No major league pitcher, if you consider yourself to be of major league talent, no major league pitcher should go 3-0 in consecutive counts. That to me is the mark of somebody that isn't focused and isn't giving their all to try and get their team in a position to get out of the inning. You've pitched enough innings, Mike Clevinger. Show me that you have the fortitude to be able to overcome whatever command issues you're having, throw strikes, pitch to contact. I don't care if you don't strike the guy out. I would rather give up base hits that lose you games than have a ball not get put in play. One ball got put in play in the ninth inning. I'm going to sound like a broken record. One ball got put in play in the ninth inning. And you're telling me that this guy is the guy that you are going to rely upon to be your closer? Get out of here. There's no purpose in him being on this roster. Not if he performs like he did today. And you know what? You have him on a minor league deal. So if he's bad and continues to be bad, then just cut him. You talk about guys that are part of a competitive future. Shane Smith is somebody that's going to be a part of a competitive future. Shane Smith has proven through 2 starts with how good his breaking stuff is and how good his ability to get in and out of jams is that the White Sox found something in this Rule 5 pick. Shane Smith is part of your future and a part of your terrible past. A guy that was part of consecutive 100-loss teams is the reason why you lost the game. One of the reasons why you lost the game. You also lost the game because your offense can't do diddly squat with runners in scoring position. You're a team that has an offense that is the antithesis of clutch. Your former number 3 overall pick has absolutely no gumption when it comes. See, I can't even talk right now because I'm so angry at how this game unfolded. There's a reason why the White Sox will probably lose 100 games again. And again, 10 games, small sample size. You've gotten walked off in consecutive games. You've lost 2 games, 1-0. So focusing in a little bit more on the specifics of why the White Sox did not win this game today, you have to go to 2 blown situations in the 4th and the 6th inning. Andrew Benintendi not in the lineup today in a right-on-left situation because of an adductor strain, and you hope that he is going to be okay. He's listed currently as day-to-day, but I would not expect to see him in the lineup for the rest of the Guardians series. That injury occurred against the Tigers, so hopefully Benintendi will be all right and he won't need an injured list stay. But if he does, maybe that's an excuse to finally bring up Chase Meidroth from AAA Charlotte. And I think a lot of people have seen what Meidroth are doing. We talked about on the last episode and want him up here immediately. And I hope that he is up here immediately because this lineup needs some help. Andrew Benintendi, or rather Andrew Vaughn, I should say, is the definition of not clutch. Top of the 4th inning, Sox get the first 2 on. Robert a single, Maton a single. Robert goes to third. Vaughn, a non-productive out, pops out, and then Matt Theis grounds into a double play. Again, why Matt Theis is getting as many at-bats as he is befuddling to me. Then in the 6th inning, 2 straight walks to lead off the inning, Amaya and Tauchman. Robert strikes out, Maton flies out to center, and Vaughn grounds out to short. I am more and more convinced that Andrew Vaughn will be off this roster sooner than he will stay on this roster because he just seemingly is an empty bat in the middle of the lineup. And even if you keep him in the lineup and have him being at first base every single day, you got to move him down in the lineup. You cannot have somebody that is struggling as much as he is especially at times to get the ball in play and be able to work the ball to certain parts of the infield, you cannot have him in the cleanup spot or the 3 spot. Not at this point. Understand what your guys are doing at this point and make a change. Matt Thaiss is effectively this team's starting catcher based on the amount of at-bats that he has and the amount of times that he starts. He should not be the starting catcher. Matt Thaiss, I remember him as a prospect. I thought he was going to be a really good player. He did not pan out that way. He's not a part of the future. Don't continue to start him more often than you start Corey Lee. You need to see what you have in full with Corey Lee before you give up on him, before you bring up Kyle Teal or Edgar Cuero, whoever is ready first. And if one of those two ends up being your starting catcher of the future. I don't understand why the White Sox are continuing to play Matt Thaiss as much as they are. He's got a good eye. He can draw walks. That's about it. Lenyn Sosa, he had an 0 for 3 day with 2 strikeouts. Miguel Vargas had an 0 for 3 day with 2 strikeouts. White Sox struck out 9 times as a team. They only walked. Well, they walked 5 times, so at least they have decent enough eyes. But the White Sox only managed 2 hits in the game. Robert and Maton. And that happened in the 4th inning. Too often, this White Sox team is having 5 or fewer hits, or like they did today, 2 hits. And you should not be losing games when you only give up 1 run. But when you're not scoring any runs, you're going to lose games when you give up 1 run. This is a flawed lineup. We knew it was a flawed lineup. I don't think we expected a Rule 5 pick to be as good as he has been, but Shane Smith has the potential to be a mainstay in this rotation, and if 2 starts are any indicator, he'll be on the roster the whole year and he won't end up being returned to Milwaukee. I hope that the White Sox can see what this guy is doing and put him as a foundational piece in this rotation for years to come, especially when you have the 2 lefties in Schultz and Hagen Smith finally end up coming to the big leagues. If Shane Smith is part of that rotation that you could envision being one of the best in the American League 2 to 3 years from now, that's going to be something special to watch. But right now, the White Sox are taking it on the chin with a lineup that's underwhelming and a bullpen who has a closer that shouldn't be on the roster. Infuriating. But this is where we're at in terms of the life cycle of the White Sox. We're going to keep it relatively short today because this is a post-game pod. White Sox will have 2 remaining games in the series against the Guardians tomorrow and Thursday before returning home to Rate Field on Friday against the Boston Red Sox. But some sad news too, and if you're listening to this, you probably have already gone on Twitter and have already seen the news that came across, but there was a nightclub in the Dominican Republic that had the roof collapse on it, and many people were trapped inside. And one of those people was former Major League reliever and 2-year Chicago White Sox reliever Octavio Dotel. He initially was able to be rescued from the building alive, but Dotel, at the age of 51 years old, passed away on the way to the hospital in the Dominican Republic, and our hearts go out to him and his family. This obviously is something that was a tragic circumstance given what happened. And Dotel I've been seeing stories from a lot of White Sox fans on Twitter about how nice he was to fans when he was a part of the team. He was a part of the 2008 White Sox bullpen that won the division that year. He made 72 appearances. He had 92 strikeouts in 67 innings of work. He was a really, really reliable 7th and 8th inning arm out of that Sox bullpen. It was him, Scott Linebrink, that would get the ball to Bobby Jenks to finish off games that year. And so we all have to realize that as much as it's frustrating to watch this White Sox team, you have to put things in perspective. And certainly the news of Octavio Dotel passing away at such a young age and under such a tragic circumstance, I think puts it in perspective a little bit more for me in terms of understanding that this is just a game and we cannot take things too seriously in that regard. So that's it. That's all for us on this edition of Believe in White Sox. Appreciate all of you joining us. Sox get walked off 1-0 in Cleveland Tuesday afternoon. We will talk to you very soon.